itself is disruptive. It can hold a lot of inner chaos because who we knew ourselves to be is no longer.
1960s, and it has been there, and the objective was to eliminate the redundant reports that are not needed. This is something that happens common in a digital transformation, like why are we having so many reports and how many of them are valuable. Hello everyone, welcome to the series on butterfly effect, how the best and the brightest set up for success. So for many of us, as we discussed, transformation is a lifetime opportunity, and it gives us an opportunity to truly embrace ourselves. So one of the key aspects of transformation, which is not necessarily talked about, is personal readiness. So there is power in being ourselves, celebrating who we are, and as we embrace ourselves truly, we help others embrace themselves and their own unique journey. So, this way, we collectively grow, we learn, and we serve each other better. And towards the end, we make the world a better place. And also, we are making a conscious effort to have a beautiful outcome as we intend to work on this. So, with me is Veronica Haslam, a well known industry expert in the personal leadership. So, for those who do not know Veronica, Veronica leads a group, an organization called Heartful Leadership, where Veronica brings the heart of the matter to the workplace. So, for me, a personal journey with Veronica has been very useful as it helped me peel away the layers and embrace who I am. And this way, I'm enabling better transformations and serving those around me in a much better and a more meaningful way. I would recommend checking Veronica out. And let's welcome Veronica to this episode. Hello, Vee, and it's great to have you here.
Hi, Judith. Thank you so much. What a beautiful introduction. So thank you so much for that. I would say that given that we are focusing on really the essence of who we are and bringing that into all aspects of our life. So, and I think that sometimes the way in which we might have been conditioned to compartmentalize work to personal life to lots of different, other aspects of our holistic human experience of what it's like to be a human, is that, bringing our essence into our work and how it is that uniqueness that lives in each of us is shared for everyone's benefit. So what I would say, Judith, when I was just really in awe of that beautiful intro, is that you are really the one that has stepped into uncovering the layers of what it means to be in our alignment, our inner alignment with our essence, and the discovery process that involves, because I think many of us would like almost like a GPS, kind of like the old Melways, tell us how to get there, that sort of sense of I'm willing to take the path, but I really want to know that I'm going in the right direction, or do I turn down this road, or do I have to flip over the page, or is as my GPS is often telling me, rerouting me because I've taken the wrong direction or taken the wrong turn. But I think that path of self-discovery and really being willing and courageous, as I see you on your path, Judith, I see you as being a courageous leader in really expressing who you are in the world, and that expression of ourselves is a constant navigation through finding our path, and that there really is no fixed map. I think it's a process of going on the journey, I guess, as cliche as that might sound, and taking the turns that emerge and seeing where that leads us.
And that is Beautiful, Vee, and I'm very humbled, and I thank you personally for the opportunity that you have given me and many like me to discover ourselves so we can be better leaders. So, in your journey, you have helped many, many organizations and many humans in embracing their path and their part of the journey. So, in your opinion, how does being ourselves or who we truly are, or embracing the power of true who we are, enable us to align ourselves with the mission? In this case, let's call it transformation. So, how does our personal preparedness play a role in the bigger picture of what we do?
So I think that transformation at a core sort of conceptual level to me is, and I know that butterflies have a great meaning for you, Judith, and that this whole podcast is called the butterfly effect. And so what I'm actually seeing at the moment is that very stereotypical analogy of the caterpillar to the butterfly. So transformation being that the form is changed and it can't actually go back. So it really is, it's more around a sense of what we knew ourselves to be or who we knew ourselves to be shifts, and we are rebirthed into a new identity of ourselves. Now, when that happens in terms of transformation in our organizational settings or in fulfilling what the mission of the collective is or ourselves, I think what that means is that we really need to be able to again navigate that process as it's unfolding of what it means to change form, for part of us to literally die off or no longer exist in order for the new identity of ourselves to emerge. And so that process in itself is disruptive. It can hold a lot of inner chaos because who we knew ourselves to be is no longer, and where we're going is unfamiliar. So it can be very fear-inducing because we don't know what to expect. We don't know how we're expected to turn up. We don't know, how we fit, I guess. And so the process of being able to really connect in to being ready within ourselves requires us to develop capacity in that area of being able to sit in uncertainty, to be able to not have the map, sometimes not even really know where we're going. All we know is that where we are right now is no longer serving us or serving the organization or serving the ecosystem that we're all part of. There is something that will be a trigger for the need to transform, whether that's reactive or proactive. And in that process of transformation, our own readiness around what that experience is going to hold for us as human beings that will fluctuate through various emotions at different times. We'll be making different sense of what we see. We will feel sometimes the want and the need to have that map so that it can guide us. And we might grab onto a map, even though it's not really the map, but that's good enough because at least I feel a bit better having something. But then realizing that as we're traveling that path, that there are more human moments reflecting back to us that maybe we need to put that map down for a little while and actually recalibrate where we are, which I think is what you talk a lot about, Judith, around the conscious pause, and the wisdom that can really be coming through when we connect more deeply to what's coming up for ourselves, which I see as really a lot about this personal readiness is about our inner connection, you know, how intuitively connected we are to what's coming up, to acknowledge when we have moments of fear in uncertainty and change, which are very natural, to not brush them aside and, you know, push them under the rug, because they will continue to fester and accumulate, but to really integrate the whole human experience as we're in it, recognizing that, you know, most of the time I've found that when we have opportunity, or we create opportunity to share the human experience together in our workplaces, in these moments of flux and we don't really know what's going on, when we can really share the expression of what that feels like for us as human beings, we can very quickly, we can really sense and see ourselves in the other person, in the other people that we're working with. And that is like such a liberating experience, because all of a sudden we realize that we're not the only ones that are feeling like we're lost, or, you know, we don't know what's expected of us. We hope we don't fail. We hope we do a good enough job. So there's a lot in readiness, I think. And I see that there really is not a particular, okay, well, I'm not ready now. Once I do this, this, and this, I'll be ready. I don't see it as a linear kind of process. While I definitely see it as a human experiential revealing path. And if we are willing to step on it, which I do believe takes courage and it takes commitment, but once we are willing to take another step forward into the unknown, the most amazing potential lies really in that.
Exactly. And thank you for that. And personally, for me, this has been, a very personal journey. And I related to the butterfly. So sometimes organizations, or especially those going through transformations, we tend to, think transformation is linear, but it's not. When we look at nature, the butterfly is a big example, and I relate a lot to the butterfly. So it's like it has multiple stages in its life, and the final stage is the butterfly. As it goes through multiple stages, who the butterfly or the caterpillar interacts is very different to the chrysalis, and then eventually the butterfly. At every stage, it has changed, transformed. The food is different, the environment is different, and who that serves, or the purpose it serves, is very different. So this is embracing, looking at the nature and embracing the uncertainty that comes with the transformation. And we cannot, as you rightly said, transformation is not linear. It's not a 5-stage process or a 3-stage process or whatever it is. So for someone it could be 3, or someone it could be 5, or someone it could be, hey, this is great, and this is the stage you need to be in, and serve those. So as I translate it to organizations, when I see that example, the beautiful example, the organization, as it goes through transformation, we may find out, taking that conscious pause, we may find out that who we are serving is very different to who we thought we are serving. And the stakeholders we originally thought we have are not necessarily the stakeholders of this part of the transformation. So, and also the people who we thought we need may be very different. So the power in understanding ourselves and the collective us as organization, and on also understanding who we serve and where we need to be. It is great to have a direction, and it's great to have a way to go, or it's like, okay, here is the lighthouse, and this is the path I need to navigate. And also being very open to change the plan. Yes, if the weather is bad, I'm okay to pause for a while, and also having that being very open, and that takes personal readiness and personal investment on that journey. I,
It
it's something
does.
I personally relate to, and I have learned a lot from you on that in that space. So thank you.
Well, thanks, Judith. I think, yeah, what I sense in the willingness to connect deeply to what's emerging in the midst of a planned process requires, again, sometimes that requires courage to go, something is revealing itself right now that it was unanticipated, and we don't quite know what sense to make of it yet, right? So sometimes these emerging, what would you call them? I sort of see them as like they are little, they're prompts that are sort of pushed, like they're just gently guiding us back on the path. But when we've got a plan, we think we know what the path is. So we go, okay, well, these are the steps, right? Broadly, even if they're quite broad, these are the steps. And if it's to deviate from that, right, often there are many expectations attached to the progress being following the planned path. So if you think about the potential pressure that we might feel to continue to report on our status reporting, of whatever the initiative might be, to ensure that we keep we manage upwards, we manage across, we manage, all the different sort of directions that we might need to consider. And what it might mean, actually, if we find ourselves at a certain point in this process that we're standing at like a part in the path that's got multiple directions. And if we were to really tap in to what we are seeing, what we're sensing, what we have learnt, what we are discovering, what we don't yet know. And we're looking at all of those and we go, oh, I think that we might even need to go backwards. We might need to go backwards a little bit,
And that
so
is very
cool.
true, right?
Yeah.
And how many times in a transformation we either stay where we are or make an informed decision to stay where we are, or go forward or go backwards. It's all of this
Yes.
are beneficial if we look at it.
Yes.
So, that
Yeah.
thing on being true to oneself and being genuinely true, I brings up my mind comes up with an example. So in one of the transformation, I was working for a utility. There was a report on whales. So this is a utility which is transmitting electricity, and there was a curious question asked by one of our colleagues on what is the need to chase whales, or why is this there? And there were so many theories on, some say this is from the 1960s and it has been there. And the objective was to eliminate the redundant reports that are not needed. This is something that happens common in a digital transformation, like why are we having so many reports and how many of them are valuable as we move on to higher levels of consciousness or informed decisions. So this whale report fascinated many of us. And one of the colleagues believed in the prompting and said, hey, we need to find out we need to chase this and find out. So, and it's very easy to dismiss that prompting, but we believed in it, and the discovery was fascinating. The movement of whales, especially in Australia, have some sort of relationship with the weather. And what they are doing in an indirect way was tracking the weather to manage variances of something. So if we
Mm.
did not, if we did not listen to that prompting in that case, we could have missed a beautiful opportunity there. So with the
Yeah.
technology that's available, we were able to use a GPS, GIS data to get that get that level of confidence, and also add a layer of uninformed or unplanned advantage to the transformation.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so these are the gifts that emerge of being true to ourselves and true to the promptings.
They are. That's a beautiful example. And as you're talking, I'm thinking, okay, so we could see this as being right. So I'm going to be more aware of the promptings, right? And so what I'm seeing is that it's a little bit like going, I'm going to have a lot of willpower. And I'm not going to, like, there's those chocolate biscuits in the cupboard, and I'm not going to eat the whole thing. I'll just have, so you just go, okay. So there's the more of perhaps a thinking or cognitive process that could be involved there around, I'm going to set an intention around it, or I'm going to be conscious that that is what I would like to be able to do, how I want to show up in the space. I'm going to be more aware of the prompting. But perhaps for those of us that okay, well, that's great. But how am I going to know? Like, how am I going to pick up on the prompting? Because I think that this is where the intention and then how it actually emerges in our own experience of it is, again, like there is no set map. So I see it as a practice of becoming intimately like it's like having the most intimate relationship with yourself that you can. And sometimes I look at it a bit like, if you were to, say, go on a date with someone, you would, you'd probably sit there and ask questions to get to know who they are, and then you're like, oh, that was the first date. And then there's another date, and, and then the relationship continues sometimes it doesn't, but, might continue to grow, and, and you understand each other in a iterative and evolving way. And I see that the ability for us to really connect in to where these prompts might be appearing for ourselves is intricately connected to the intimate relationship that we have with ourselves. It is a lot very tied, in my view, in my own experience, to how we get to know ourselves, how we get to know the parts of ourselves that are coming up, in different ways. Sometimes the parts of ourselves that might be like we could have the most amazing prompt in front of us in terms of a work transformation project, but we could be stuck in the fear of, oh, I hope, like, this cannot fail. I need to make sure that I do a good enough job here. Many of us might have like a pleaser sort of, saboteur. Like, I want to make sure that I do this good enough for, make sure I deliver on time, make sure I, meet the budget, make sure, like, all of these expectations that we might be carrying within ourselves that can be all consuming and literally be like act as blindfolds, really, to us being able to see the prompts, because we can't. We've got our mind is like, really in that monkey mind state of jumping between this, and this, and we're so preoccupied with the reactivity that's going on that we don't have the clarity and the focus and the balance to be able to connect into our prompts. So I see it as being like there's a knowing of ourselves, like really dating and loving ourselves and all the crap that can often be sitting there within ourselves, right? Seeing those bits, like, there's my pleaser, there's my, I've got a number of voices that can kick in every now and again, very judgmental, critical parent, or this or that. And so just seeing that gives us another layer of understanding about the context of what's going on in our workplace systems, which includes our own inner narrative, as well as, you know, the work kind of on the surface, as well as the dynamics in our team, as well as the culture in the organisation, you know, so many intertwined sort of elements. And so knowing ourselves, and then the other aspect of it is, to me, about really building up our abilities to bring ourselves to that place of clarity and focus. And so that does, I think, often sit in activities that might not be seen as work, like not productive, yes. You know? So whether you are connecting to something that makes you feel really good, you know, so it might be you go for a walk in nature, or for me, like I love my baths, you know, or I will sit and meditate, or I will, you know, journal, or that, like the practices themselves are probably not really so much what the like that is considered a yes or a no, but it's more about the intention and the putting aside commitment and space to really honor yourself beyond the all the busyness of, you know, all the things that we get wrapped up in doing. So
and that brings a good point, where something, you know, in transformations, like you and I have observed, and many other leaders would have observed the same thing as well. We sometimes get so carried away with hyperactivity, like we are producing so many reports, or we are doing this, and everybody would like to tick a box. So whatever those boxes are, and there is a lot. Like, what do you call, we cannot underestimate the power of sitting and having the right clarity and having the right measures and ticking the right boxes. So there are thousands of boxes that we can all tick, and there are thousands of activities that we can all choose to do, but let's choose the right one and be really centered and connected with ourselves, each other, the true higher purpose. So this enables us. I've seen, and you would have seen in many organizations, that's something we might lose in the process. We might be ticking all the right boxes, or we think are the right boxes. And being centered helps us to ensure that we are ticking the right boxes, or having the right measures, and progress in the right direction.
Yes.
So all those beautiful things.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, I'm seeing, like, you know, the idea of the passing on the baton. If the intention is the highest purpose, then quite possibly in the time that we are involved in it, there may be very few obvious boxes to tick, right? But what does that mean? Like, does that mean that our contributions and our focus on the highest intention is not valuable, or that the willingness to step in and do our part and pass on to the next iterative stage, whoever that is actually what the performance, if you like, is valuable in? And I sort of look at it and think, because I think that not having boxes to tick is a very vulnerable place to be. It's like, well, okay, so but how do I know that I'm doing a good enough job? How do I, and that goes right through. So that's
Yeah.
all reported through to, the board, to the executive, to the project or the program office, to the whatever, like the sponsors. And, there is this, there is comfort in knowing that we are, we're traveling the right direction on the map.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's, yeah, I've grappled a bit with this idea of how we balance that, because I think maybe there is, in my experience, the tendency has been to define almost like a set of boxes that we know we can achieve, because the ones that we think we can achieve are usually within the realm of our familiar
Control.
paradigm.
Yeah.
Right. So that in itself has already brought the view in.
Yeah.
And then we will place ourselves as human beings in relation to whether it's marked as being a tick or a cross. Like, what did the teacher say? Did we do well, or did we not do well? So there are
How do we
many.
measure ourselves? It's been
How do we
ingrained in
measure
us, right?
ourselves? Yeah. And so to stay true to ourselves, the essence of who we are, those bits of ourselves that are going to want to be given a gold star by the teacher, they're going to be there at different times.
Oh, yeah.
And we will see them if we choose to look. And that could be an obstacle in terms of being able to really be on the path of transformation for the highest purpose. But in the short term, we might go, I got a gold star. I feel really good. That's good.
Yeah.
The gold star comes and goes. That little feeling of endorphin rush that we got when we felt like we got pat on the back, that will come and go too. And then what will remain is how aligned we feel within ourselves. How have we felt like we have been true to our values, to what's important to us, to the highest mission, as you said, Judith, right? Which could be something massive that you're like, oh, like that's just such a big mission that how can you possibly think that you can be part of that? But I think that's what we're really asking. I think our world, when you talk about a better world, well, what does that's massive.
What does that actually mean?
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm just prompted to say this, right? So one leader I really respect and who is in our time is Jan Ban, who we will meet in this series. And what impressed me is the conscious decision in his case to start an organization and be truly in tune with the promptings, and then be willing to let go, embrace pain in the most interesting or most very painful way, and also come out of the pain and set up something else. And the social, the commercial, and the personal things that this gentleman had initiated, especially in our lifetime, and the organizations that he has impacted. That is, for me, that is a true power of transformation. And this is what something simple, a butterfly effect, can actually initiate. So it is, I'm relating to this because a lot of people can relate to this. He is a well-known common leader that most of in our world, and especially something has happened in a lifetime. And yeah, this is, as you said, this is just being true to the prompting. At no point, like in this case, this gentleman would have thought in his 60s or 70s that he will be transforming the lives of many children in the countries that he has never been. So this is something, it's a highest purpose. It's a mission that is being fulfilled through him. But this required a leader to be conscious, to be aware, and to be humble enough to go with the learnings, to go roll with the pain, and to
Yeah.
be there for his team and
Yes.
everything else around it. So, you know,
Yes.
in our world, we talk about being truly connected, and you and I talk about the Atlantis world or the Utopia world, whatever it is, where humans have the power to communicate with each other through mirror neurons, and we both believe in it. And we have seen it happen, like the promptings that happen in both of us and with our extended team. It is it is being true, and all of us have made a conscious choice to be true to that prompting. It could be simple as check on this person to, hey, with this prompting, can we do a bit more on this area to something else? For example, the logo that came through you for this wonderful thing, it's a beautiful gift, and it is a gift of the prompting. And I've learned the power of being connected truly to the other team member, or who we work with, our cohort, our industry, and everyone else. So from I've learned this aspect from you and the other leaders who we work closely with. And in your own words, how does those team connections and the workplace connections, whatever we want to call that word, being truly connected with each other and with a higher purpose, how does that emerge through us?
How does that emerge through us? Very interesting. Oh, look, I would start with what literally there's a Harvard professor who has done the calculations as to what likelihood it is that we would be alive right now. And it's got way too many, like I couldn't even tell you how to read the number, but it's basically comes down to the common kind of factor of 0 is that it's pretty much, it's literally a miracle. It doesn't really take much beyond going, okay, so your parents had to meet, and then your parents had to meet, and then and just by the time you've sort of rippled that out a few times, you go, oh wow, it is pretty amazing. And then you go, well, and then how amazing is it that you and I, for example, right now are sitting here in this moment, in this exact moment, having found each other from two very different backgrounds, grown up in totally different, countries, and all of this. And I'm just like, gives me shivers just thinking about it, how amazing all of that is. And so I do believe that in terms of connection with our colleagues, our teams, even the people in our organizations that we might find challenging is like totally not an accident. It is such an amazing miracle that we find ourselves physically together, in my view. What I tend to see as being the opportunity we share when we are in these human environments, and I definitely believe that there are many, there's wisdom that we can tap into as human beings in these environments. So, and we can see with the accelerated, influence of AI, and even in my own work practices, how I'm starting to really lean into that. And I know that I'm sort of a laggard, I think, probably compared to a lot of people that have already been way in there. But I'm looking at it going, okay, so one of our differentiators really is that we can feel into this. We can feel into this. We can sense things. We can connect in really to each other's stories. We can hold, like as you were talking about mirror neurons before, thinking, the other aspect is around how we can be mirroring for each other what it is that is really to be seen within ourselves. So if you look at all of the circumstances that we find ourselves surrounded by in our workplace environments, as being a curriculum that has been specifically designed for our own learning, our own growth, right? So all of the circumstances, it means that that person that you've sat in that meeting with before and felt like you weren't able to express yourself as, as authentically as what you might have wanted to, or as when they said something, you felt that instant frustration come straight up through your body, and there it was, or like all of those moments are a bit, to me, like another it's another chapter in our own
self to explore. And
our own textbook, if you like, that we are, as we're moving through our learning in our life, it's like those chapters are writing themselves in ways that help direct us to what it is that we are to uncover, to discover, to confront. A lot of these things, when you were talking about Jan's story, what really struck me about that, as well as obviously like how inspiring it is that those dark moments, that I can only imagine when you were, because you used the word pain a number of times. So the word that I'm connecting to is like, darkness and heaviness. And sometimes I've used the phrase myself when I've been speaking to clients or friends, that the path of knowing ourselves and self-discovery and, dating ourselves to a point that we might actually really love ourselves, like that path is filled with a lot of muck and mud and like shit often, wading through stuff that we feel like, the pain, the trauma, the challenge, the wounding, all the, the stuff that's sitting inside of us that is a part of this curriculum, our human curriculum. And I look at it, there's no differentiation, whether it happens, whether it's reemerges in our project meeting, to it is something that has recurringly come up in my family dynamics, or it's something that, some other, so-called random experience has connected me to. They are like, they give us they enable us to really make sense of something, to be able to see what's really sitting there within ourselves. And a lot of that is done in, we don't necessarily see each other when we're in the shit and the muck,
Exactly.
A lot of the time that is not seen. So
the prompting I have is this power of connecting to ourselves and the wider selves, which could be teams, which could be other organizations, partners, SIs, vendors, however we want to call it. So it's the part of ourselves and the extended us in case of transformation, or the teams that we work in. And one of the leaders we will be meeting in this series, Ashley Saltzman, he talks about being in tune to ourselves while managing escalations, or having a plan to manage escalations and all that. And being, it all comes down to being true to ourselves and truly connected and following our intuitions. And when we feel something needs to be done better, yes, it's worth taking a pause and listening to that prompting and seeing what can be done better, and also understanding who we serve. And a lot of litigations that we will explore in the series, which could be prevented as we shape a better world, is all about being true to our promptings. And this could come in terms of a simple thing like, hey, let's just validate if the direction our stakeholders want to go, or if this is something we can, is something in the right direction. So yes, we all, as program directors, we all love to have a plan, and we all want to schedule things like sneak peek or validation checks and all this in the process, and balance our risk and mitigate our risk. But the fundamental is very simple. Be very open and very in tune with the prompting, and be open to work with the change in direction. So if something needs to change, it needs to change because you're avoiding a bigger risk, or avoiding a bigger consequence, or,
Yes.
just growing
Yes.
in a more better way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's reminding me of, say the possible scenario where we might feel a very strong pull towards something that is different to the expectation, and how it might be that we manage that. Sometimes it can feel like a tension because there is a systemic kind of expectation that it's meant to go a certain way, and we might be seeing something or feeling something different to that. And what I'm wondering about is so the concept of following your prompt is feels, obviously I resonate with that, but I'm not sure people that might be coming across this video, how that might resonate for them. But the other part of that is that living that concept can be quite different. So it can be you can feel very vulnerable in actually saying or practicing, expressing something that might be different to what the expectation is. Now, in those experiences, what I tend to, be curious about is that even in the practice of expression with something that might be breaking what has become a systemic pattern, right?
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes in the systems, just like ourselves, we get very caught up in our habits, our patterns, and then, you see the same thing happen with your partner or with your kids, or, same thing in terms of organizations. We start to come up, we become part of these patterns perpetuating themselves. So one step forward into experimenting with this in terms of following your prompts. So, I'm sort of starting to see, how is this building? So we're talking about the being open to exploring prompts in the first place, right? It's probably one of the starting points. What does that actually mean to me? Then the practice of getting to know ourselves, so whether that's self-inquiry or that's meditation or that's like some sort of space that you create to connect to yourself. And then I see that there is this next step of, okay, I'm going to give myself permission to experiment. What might that look like? Now, so as soon as I start to see myself, this inner voice just going, oh, like, hang on, there's something there. I think there's something there. Did you have a look over there? It's like a nudge that's pointing you somewhere. When you might be out on the street and all of a sudden you look over and for some reason you see the side of that bus, right? But there's cars and buses and trucks and everything everywhere. They're just all driving. But for some reason your attention goes. So there's something draws your attention. It's that sensation, right? That there's a prompt, something is drawing your focus. Now, what we can do is go along with the regular pattern that's happened in the workplace system and go, okay, whatever that means, we'll continue down that path.
Mm-hmm.
Or this part of it really is around, this is the conscious pause, Judith, I would say, is to go, okay, so hang on a minute, something drew my attention over here, which is not on the regular path. Now what do I do? So now I give myself permission to experiment, right? Which means that we have to go, oh, okay, we don't know actually what's going to happen. We normally know we think we know what's going to happen when we go down the regular cycle, right? You can pretty much pick it. It's like, oh, I'm going to say this, and then they'll probably say that, and then well, this is what we'll do, and in a month's time, this will be kind of where we think we are. But we're talking about transformation here. We're talking about our own personal transformation, as well as how that ripples out to our teams, our organizations, to our mission. And so this is about noticing when our attention has been drawn, which is basically, our way of looking at a prompt, and then pausing for the prompt and noticing, how am I now going to step in my own action in a way that experiments, where I'm consciously, I'm going to say breaking, but it sounds a bit breaking the pattern, right? I'm going to choose something different. Now, so that could be, I might initiate a conversation with someone in the organisation that is not what I would usually do. I might actually bring this back to the table at the next meeting, where we actually had agreed to be at this, whatever this thing is, but I'm going to come back and go, oh, hang on a minute, can we just have a look over here for a second? There's something that has come up over here. So, and knowing that it's a new behavior for ourselves, most likely, right? As we're expanding, when we're expanding, there are going to be many moments that we have not, they're going to be new to us. And that is not a flaw. That is an absolute...
it's a gift, right?
Yes, it is a gift, right? So, and that takes courage, and it takes the willingness to be sitting in that unknown. So when we step in and we give ourselves permission to experiment, then we bring that experiment into the environment, then we don't know what's going to happen. So that can also be very vulnerable. I call this thing, I've got this model around shift, right? So it's like stepping in, and then it's like having 2 left feet, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then we iterate, and we have moments of forgetfulness, and then we sort of try again, right? So it's like this constant process of like feeling like it's a bit awkward, a bit clumsy. Oh, those moments when you go, oh, I shouldn't have said it like that. I hope they understood what I meant. All these human experiences of what it means to walk a new path, like to really create a new path.
Absolutely.
Break the pattern.
So the prompting again is that, being conscious to break that pattern. So in one of the transformations I was leading, the me in me is having a plan, having a group of stakeholders, and very, very defined. Everything was defined and controlled and managed and communicated and all that good things. So there was a prompting to talk to someone for some weird reason. And another colleague of mine supported in that journey and initiated the conversation through that colleague. So what we really discovered by following that prompting was this whole bunch of quick wins, which could be obtained even without lifting anything, with no heavy lifting needed, but it is just quick wins sitting there to be explored.
Yes.
And that's beautiful. And in some cases, I totally get that this leads into a garden path or even pathway that are bringing other elements that is not necessarily we think as beneficial to the current moment. But in many cases, these promptings are likely to lead us into, something unknown, something beautiful, and could be simple as quick wins, or could be something more, something beyond, something we haven't discovered. One of the this is not me. One of my transformation colleagues explained that there was a prompting to dig deeper into the supply chain, or and this they were transforming a procurement system. None of the business to dig into that aspect of the supply chain, but they chose to. It was an informed, conscious choice that the team undertook to choose. And they unearthed layers of information which literally saved millions of dollars for that specific company. This is But this is, yes, there is a financial benefit to it, but the whole thing is about following that prompting and being very open. And in this case, the program leadership or the transformation leadership, giving the people, those who are serving or those who are in the process, to empower them to follow their prompts as well, and discovering all these
Yes.
golden gains. Yeah.
Yes, that's it. Like the prompting is a little bit like reminding me of what it's like when you watch a kid, when you watch a young child, right? And you watch them they get distracted, like all of a sudden, it's like, I don't know if when your daughter was young, but like when my kids were young, and there was I remember there was this thing going around at the time where it was like, if they're really crying a lot, it was all of a sudden to kind of break their attention a little bit somehow, right?
Move
Which is
them
probably
to a
not what I would
different
do
room.
now, because I'd be
Yeah.
going, it's okay that you're crying. but we learn these things over time. And so, but there's like, or like I remember being at kinder on parent duty, and, the kids would just go off and they'd go wherever they felt like they wanted to play during, so it's like sometimes they'd be in the sand pit, and then they in the middle of something seemingly, but then all of a sudden drop what they were doing and then run off, and because something else over there drew their attention. And I think that is a little bit what I see as being the prompting kind of, so that, because it's very hard to be exact about, well, what do you mean by prompt? Like, is it something I'm going to find if I'm looking for something, or is it going to be something that someone tells me, or is it, but it's more about the being open to noticing what's coming up in our path, and also noticing what's coming up in our own felt experience, because a lot of the time the promptings will register in our body through,
it's a very felt experience. Our body and the mind will feel.
That's right. So something is like, it's like this signal saying, oh, there's something there to pay attention to over there, right? And it could be a very extreme emotional feeling that you have, which is not a good or a bad thing. It's just like, it is, something that's pointing a signal. Or it could be like excitement, or it could be curiosity, like, oh, I don't know, I can't stop thinking about that. I don't know why. Or, as I was going to bed last night, something was coming in about this. I don't know why. Like, that's not even what we're meant to be focused on right now. And usually those moments, we dismiss them. We've been taught to focus on, but that's not going to be on the exam, right? So just study what you need to for the exam. I'm seeing this. I'm seeing this in my daughter, who's in year 11 right now. We're going, and we look at it and go, well, that is the structure. That's the system in action. And I'm not, I'm probably still working on the parts of myself that are not too judgmental about that, because I'm still floating in and out of that. But I'm looking at it going, so no wonder, like, there is this very, and a lot of the time our reward and recognition system has acknowledged when we fit in that too. And so focus on what you need to. Don't focus on that. That's a distraction. Come back to what we're here to do. And so all of these so-called peripheral or things that we have judged as being not
important
don't make sense. Like, why would you, like, Judith, why would you feel prompted to contact someone that seems to have no relevance to this particular project, right? You don't you have other work to do? You've got to focus on the fifth line item on that plan is what you are meant to be doing right now. You've got enough time for that. Whereas, so prompting requires us to develop the the recognition of those moments, and also the willingness to go, I know we talk about this a lot, trusting the process. I am trusting the process here. I can't yet see. You go, oh, it's kind of exciting because you don't know there are no boundaries or limitations, if you like. But that also means that we have to be more open too in order to be boundless.
And this again, there is lots we can talk about, and there'll be hours and hours. So we will be exploring in this mini series and period of chrysalis and the importance of that, and the period of conscious pause. So we'll be exploring this a bit more in under those two, boundaries or headings, if we want to call it that way. So Vee and I have a lot more to share. So overall, everyone, so this is a very important topic, or a very important personal readiness is something that we all need to undertake before embarking on a transformation. So transformation, for many of us, it'll be a once in a lifetime opportunity. And let's make sure we are making it a good one. So follow me and Vee for more, and we look forward to sharing more. Till we meet next time.
Thanks, Judith. Thank you, everyone.